myself alone when each day is through. Yes, I'll admit that I'm grateful for you, because you're mine. I walk the line.
Hey everyone, welcome to another review. Today we're doing Neon Genesis Evangelion episode 11. Once again, we're doing it in parts since all these shows are done in parts. I hate to be redundant, but we kind of have to get that out the word way early. The first part is called In the Still Darkness. Well, not really the most grammatically correct title in the series. There's a lot of those here. This still is an episode that we see a lot of our characters once again build on until their final conclusion, and the start of a lot of other things going on with characters and character development. This is a well done show. Other than the clips episodes, there's not really a lot of time wasted depending on your point of view. Now, the first part of this episode kind of starts interesting enough because we see the NERV staff doing normal things, doing laundry, riding the train, and just going to work. We see Maya and Aba doing laundry, and they meet eventually Professor Fuyutsuki on the train, and they salute him as if they're still on duty. Which Professor Fuyutsuki sitting there on the train reading his newspaper going, yeah, that's not needed. There is a part there where for Professor Fuyutsuki is doling out exposition from two people who work in NERV, shouldn't really be there. So there's that kind of awkwardness. Then we see a phone call with Shinji where he's talking to Gendo, and you see Gendo being very gruff, and this will be a major plot point and a major episode turn, a major moment between the two the son and the father characters, in that in the second half Shinji comes to a realization. So basically the first part of the episode is we have lights out. Everyone's going to NERV, and all of a sudden there's a power outage. We find out the backup system to NERV doesn't work. All three Magis are down, or they're not able to do anything. All the service to NERV is down, which comes to a kind of interesting character arc once again for Miss Asuka Langley Soryu, where when they're trying to get into NERV, Ray swipes her card for the electromagnetic entry, and we find out it doesn't work. And of course Asuka and her robustness in the fact that she's so much superior to everyone else, she goes, move out of the way, let me do it. And as soon as it doesn't work for her, she downplays Ray. So we go through that. We find out that NERV has no power, they're losing oxygen, everything's going wrong in the Geo front. Then we go into another phase of the story where Kaji and Masato get stuck in an elevator. You have to remember, even though I won't get into what happens or what's explained in a future episode, we'll get there when we get there, but they're locked in this elevator by themselves, and or at least Masato kind of doesn't want to see him. Kaji plays it like Kaji always does because Kaji is so cool, and he takes it as, oh, okay, we're stuck here. Do you want to do what we used to do? So eventually the first part ends with all the characters trying to convene on Nerve Central, and that's about it. We hear a lot about the angel. There's no visual of the angel, so that's that. There's also a little bit with the three children. We have Rei, Asuka, and Shinji together trying to get to Nerve. And Asuka appoints, of course, herself the leader. Once again, this is leading to a character arc in her point of view, where she appoints herself the leader and everything she does is wrong. And she's so confident in her wrongness. That's what can lead to something that we're going to go to later on when we get to those episodes. But once again, much like the episode with her and Shinji trying to team up against that angel, you kind of see that she doesn't like to be upstart. So, I mean, that's kind of it. The episode actually ends on a pretty good laugh, where Ritsuko and Maya and all the people in Nerve are sitting lower in Nerve Central, and of course Gendo and Fuyusuke are sitting above them, and Maya goes, "Oh, look at the commander, he looks so cool." And then you go to a shot to them, and it ends on a really funny gag where you see, I think it's Gendo's feet in water. It says only, used for fire emergency, and Fuyusuke standing there going, "It's hot." And then you see Gendo with his fingers over his mouth, because it helps the dubbing, going, "Yes." And then that's pretty much the end of this episode. And then we go into the second part, the day Tokyo 3 stood still. Now this episode's kind of interesting because we see all three units for the first time active. This is the first time we'll see all three units active in the show, and this kicks off once again an arc where we'll see all three actors, all three Evas simultaneously being used and deployed, which is a lot of fun. But once again, the first part of this episode, or this part of the episode, is all about Asuka screwing up. Every decision she makes is wrong, and she gets outdone by Rei, which will become once again a major plot point later on when we get to see her backstory. Not only her backstory, but a lot of her character development is the wounding of pride and trying to make up for it. The first part is, everyone realizes she has no idea what the hell she's doing, and the second part sees her trying to redeem herself in some way. Now, the first part of this movie, or the first part of this show, is the fact that, they have no idea how to, you see Gendo, Ritsuko, and the rest of them trying to figure out how are we going to deploy the Evas when an angel's attacking. And this is kind of an interesting plot point in this show, because you see Gendo taking a very much hands-on approach to it. He gets out of the upper bowels of Nerve Central to go down there with the grunts, the greasers, the mechanics, to make the Evas work. Which just leads to kind of an interesting point where Shinji goes, when they finally get to Nerve Central, goes, "Oh, how are we going to pilot the angels?" And they go, "The angels are up and ready, they're just waiting for you." And he goes, "How do you do it with no electricity?" And he goes, "Your father did it." And Shinji has that not really a eureka moment, but he has that moment where he just looks around and goes, my father did it? Which is a pretty good scene. There's also an interesting scene in the air ducts where Shinji asks the obvious question, what are the angels and why are they trying to destroy us? Asuka gives an answer that's not really satisfactory, but it kind of makes sense because they're kids and they don't really know what's going on in the grand scheme of things. There's also a part where all the children get into their Evas by handheld usage, which is kind of interesting in itself. The actual fight with the angel is not that spectacular. It's kind of limited. But I will say this. At the beginning of the second part, you see Rei take over and she leads the group to Nerve Central. And then when they have to defeat the angel, Asuka takes up the obvious role by coming up with the plan and trying to be a martyr. If you haven't seen the episode, I'm not going to ruin to you what happens, but it's kind of interesting. And the whole thing, the whole shtick with Masato and Ryoji Kaji stuck in the elevator ends on a kind of funny note, with both of them being uncomfortable being in the same room together, or at least Masato more. Kaji really doesn't care. Actually, he kind of plays off of Masato's, awkwardness. And it's a lot of fun. It's very funny. The ending gag of that joke, really funny. Yeah, maybe fan servicey, but it is a funny joke to end it on. The ending lines really come from the air duct scene where Shinji at the end goes, literally, why are the angels attacking us? To which Asuka retorts in her typical fashion, what are you, stupid? I love that line. And, she goes, why? No one knows why they're attacking us. Which is wrong because people in the organization know. That's more or less episode 11. It's fun in the sense that you have to... This is the first time we get to see all three angels deployed. We get to see the awkwardness with the elevator scenes between Kaji and Masato. We get to see the early scenes at the beginning where you see the people from Nerve living everyday lives when they're not at Nerve. And we get to see Gendo take a more hands-on action. And Shinji just looking at it and going, wow, I didn't think my dad can do that. And a lot of other stuff like that. This is a show that has an attention to detail, has humor in it. Maybe I'm getting off a little bit too far because we're not even halfway through it. But there's still character development. And I think this episode is actually a lot of fun. So that's it for episode 11. Tomorrow will be episode 12. So that's all for now. And later.